My name is Leo, and I'm an archivist. I spend my days in a small, quiet apartment in Austin, restoring old maps, tracing the lines of worlds and journeys that are no longer there. I never thought my own life would change with a single call, one that shattered the silence. I was sitting in my living room, half listening to the rain tap against the glass, when my phone lit up with a number I hadn't seen in at least a decade. It was my aunt, LR. I hesitated, then answered, Leo. Her voice came through, warm, familiar, but thin, like pressed flowers. It's been too long, dear. Before I could even respond, another voice joined the line, my aunt, Genevieve, calm, steady, with that low, polished tone that always held an unspoken authority. Leo, we were hoping you could do something for us. Not a chore, not a family duty. Something different. I frowned, my curiosity suddenly sharp. What do you mean? There was a pause, long enough for me to hear Alara inhale, as if gathering courage. We want you to come spend a week with us, she said, her voice rushing, at Breakwater House. Just us, but not as your aunts, not as relatives you owe a visit to. We want you to come as companions, as people who care for you and who maybe need you more than you know. The words hit me like a stone in still water, ripples moving right through my chest. It was such a strange, delicate request. I almost laughed. I almost said no. But there was something in their voices, a raw, exposed loneliness that stopped me. When, tomorrow, Genevieve replied, as if it were the most obvious thing in the world. If you can. Sound of a phone call ending abruptly. The call ended, leaving me staring at the dark screen. My heart was unsettled. I'd grown up barely knowing them, my mother's sisters. Two women who lived their own lives, tucked away together on the coast of Maine. They were names on Christmas cards, polite smiles across Thanksgiving tables 10 years gone. And yet, here they were, reaching out as if something vital was at stake. By morning, I had packed a bag and was driving east. The highway stretched out, long and gray. I kept telling myself this was just family, just a visit. But deep down, a voice whispered that it wasn't. Music shifts, subtle, expectant. Breakwater House appeared in the afternoon light, perched on a cliff overlooking the Atlantic. It was an old lighthouse keeper's home, built of dark stone, its windows glowing amber against the gray shadows of the sea. LR was waiting on the porch, her silver hair loose in the wind. She rushed to me, hugging me tighter than she ever had before. Her warmth startled me. You're here, she said, her smile trembling. Genevieve appeared behind her, elegant as always, her presence quieter, but heavier. She simply touched my arm, her hint steady, almost grounding. Come in, Leo. You must be tired from the drive. Inside, the house smelled of sea salt, old books, and beeswax. A massive fire crackled in the hearth, filling the silence that stretched between us. Alara guided me to the sofa, fussing over my coat, pouring tea, her laughter too quick, too bright, as if she were nervous. Genevieve sat across from me, studying me with those thoughtful, heavy-lidded eyes. As I sipped the tea, I realized how strange it felt. They weren't treating me like a nephew. They didn't ask about my job, my mother, or my life back in Austin. Instead, they leaned in, they listened, they urged me to talk about my dreams, my quiet regrets, the moments of intense loneliness in a city full of people. And they shared back small confessions, how they felt life had passed them by, how the world felt colder as the years pressed on. The more we spoke, the more I felt the room shifting. This wasn't family catching up. This was deeper, more personal, as though invisible walls had been dismantled, brick by brick. Alara's eyes lingered on me. Genevieve's voice lowered whenever she spoke my name. The firelight made the air seem thick, almost intimate. At one point, Alara leaned closer, her hand brushing against mine as she refilled my cup. The touch jolted me, simple, yet too warm, too careful to be accidental. Genevieve caught the moment, her lips pressed into a knowing line. Though she said nothing, I excused myself after dinner. Retreating to the guest room, I closed the door, leaning back against it, my heart racing. Why did this feel like this? Why did it feel as though I had walked into something unspoken? Something fragile and dangerous. I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, remembering the way Alara's laughter carried that hidden ache, the way Genevieve's eyes never left my face, the way they had both looked at me, as though they were expecting something. It was only the first night, and the ground beneath me was already shifting. Their invitation had sounded simple, but now I understood there was more. Something neither of them had said out loud. Yet, music fades to a low, suspenseful hum. The second night at Breakwater House began with the firelight and the sound of the wind howling outside. I sat on the couch, a glass of wine in my hand, trying to steady myself. The room was warm, but my heart was moving too fast. Alara sat on the rug near the fireplace, her knees tucked under her, her eyes sparkling. Genevieve sat across from me, calm as ever, her back straight, her gaze steady, watching. It didn't feel like family. It felt like something else. Elara broke the silence first. Do you remember the last time we saw you properly? You were 16. Barely said a word. Her laugh was soft, but her eyes didn't leave my face. Now look at you. You're a man, different. We almost don't know you anymore. I smiled awkwardly. That was a long time ago. People change. Genevieve leaned forward. Her voice was low, deliberate. Yes, people change. And sometimes we only notice when it's too late. The way she said it sent a chill through me. She didn't mean it as small talk. Alara refilled my glass, her fingers brushing my wrist, lingering just long enough to make my chest tighten. She smiled, but I knew she'd done it on purpose. The conversation drifted. Old memories. The way the family had fractured, the loneliness of empty houses. Alara spoke quickly, her laughter bright, but then, as if she was filling the air so it wouldn't collapse. Genevieve spoke rarely, but when she did, her words landed like stones in the deep water of that quarry outside. At one point, Genevieve turned to me directly. Tell us, Leo, what do you want in life? Not work, not responsibility. What do you really want? The question caught me off guard. I hesitated. I don't know, I admitted, my voice quiet. Connection, maybe, something that feels real. I'm tired of ghosts. Neither of them spoke. Alara lowered her eyes, as though my answer had cut into her. Genevieve nodded once, her gaze softening. I know what that's like, Alara whispered. She told me about her life, how the nights felt longer, how she'd sit by the window and just wish for someone to sit with her. In silence, Genevieve added her own confession. Quiet but raw. I sometimes feel invisible, she admitted. People only see the strength, the one who manages. They never see the exhaustion. They never see the want. I listened, my chest tightening. These weren't stories for a nephew. These were confessions, as if they had been waiting years for someone safe enough to hear them. And somehow, they had chosen me. I reached out without thinking, resting my hand lightly on Genevieve's. The touch was brief, meant as comfort. But the moment stretched. She looked at me, and in her eyes was something I couldn't name. Gratitude, longing. Alara noticed. She tilted her head, her smile faint, almost sad. As the night grew later, Alara curled up on the couch, her shoulder pressing against my side. The closeness was casual, yet entirely deliberate. Genevieve remained across, her silence heavier now, her eyes watching every shift, every breath. I felt drawn in, caught between them. The warmth of Alara against my side, the intensity of Genevieve's gaze. It was too much, and not enough. When the clock struck midnight, I excused myself, my voice unsteady. I think I should sleep. Alara touched my arm, her fingers soft, her eyes holding mine a moment too long. Of course, rest well. Genevieve only nodded, but her expression carried something unspoken that followed me down the hall. In my room, I sat on the edge of the bed. My heart wouldn't slow down. I replayed the evening, Alara's playfulness, Genevieve's steady intensity. I knew this wasn't simple. I knew something was stirring beneath the surface, but another truth rose stronger than the fear. I didn't want to leave. Music shifts. A single, haunting cello note the morning began with a silver mist crawling in from the sea, the kind of quiet that makes the world feel paused. I stood at the window, restless, before I could talk myself into leaving. Alara knocked softly and stepped inside. "You're awake," she smiled. "Come with us. We're going for a walk." Genevieve was already outside on the cliff path, her coat buttoned against the chill. She looked softer in the morning light. Almost vulnerable, the three of us began to walk along the narrow path. The ocean was a flat sheet of gray far below. The only sound was our footsteps and the distant cry of a gull. I walked between them. Alara linked her arm through mine, as though it was the most natural thing in the world. Every so often, she'd lean her head against my shoulder. "You know," Alara broke the silence, "when we were younger, Genevieve and I used to dream about a life like this. Not with you, of course, but with someone who would make everything feel less lonely." Genevieve's voice came from behind me, low and steady. "That's why we asked you here, Leo. We didn't want another holiday with polite smiles. We wanted something real, someone to share the silence with, someone who listens." I slowed down, my heart hammering. "I don't know what you mean." Alara stopped, turning to face me. The fog wrapped around us, making the world small. Her eyes were bright, pleading. "We mean this," she said. "You, us, together, without pretending to be something we're not." Before I could respond, Genevieve stepped closer. "We don't want to confuse you, Leo, but we've lived long enough to know that what matters isn't what the world expects. It's what makes the heart quiet." My throat tightened. I looked at Alara, then at Genevieve. Alara smiled faintly, her voice trembling. "Don't you feel it too? This pull between us?" I didn't answer. ICOULD and single quotes T. We reached the edge of the cliff, where the old lighthouse foundation remained. Alara sat on the stone, her feet dangling. "I used to come here alone," she whispered, "and imagine someone sitting beside me, someone who saw me." Genevieve stood behind us, her arms crossed. "And I used to imagine not feeling invisible," she said quietly. "But life doesn't hand you what you want, Leo. You either reach for it, or it slips away." I sat beside Alara. She leaned her head against my shoulder, her hair brushing my cheek. "Stay with us," she said softly. "Stay, and don't hide." Genevieve finally sat on my other side, not touching, but close. The heat from her body reached mine. She spoke slowly, like a vow. "We're not asking you to choose. We're asking you to see us, and to let yourself be seen." My breath shook. The pull was undeniable. Alara's nearness was a warm ache. Genevieve's stillness was a deep, solid strength. For the first time in years, I felt wanted, not for an obligation, but for me. And it terrified me. I sat between them, silent, and in that silence, Alara whispered the words that sealed the moment. "This week isn't about family, Leo. It's about us, about what we could be, if you let it." I closed my eyes. The ocean was quiet, but inside me, everything had begun to roar. Music swells, then fades back to the crackling fire. The evening, the tension was so thick I could barely breathe. I sat on the couch, the wine untouched. Alara came in first, sinking into the cushions beside me, her knee touching mine. Genevieve followed, choosing the chair across, her eyes fixed on me. Alara leaned forward, her hand brushing mine as she took the glass from me. Her touch lingered. "You've been quiet," she said gently. "Do we frighten you, Leo?" I swallowed. I just don't understand. "That's because we haven't told you everything." Genevieve's voice broke the air, calm, but heavy. Alara leaned closer, her eyes raw and uncovered. "We asked you here because we didn't want to live in silence anymore," she whispered. "We've spent years hiding, waiting for people who never came. We wanted someone to share ourselves with, someone who sees us. We're tired of pretending," Genevieve added, her voice steadier. "We don't want to be just ants. We want to love. We want to be loved." Honestly, without walls, the words pressed into my chest, heavy and electric. Alara touched my hand again, this time holding it. We're asking you to let this be what it is, to stay with us, not out of duty, but because you feel it too. I looked at Genevieve. She leaned forward. You do feel it. Don't deny it. The closeness, the pull, it's here. We can all sense it. I pulled my hand back, standing abruptly. This isn't normal. You're my mother's sisters. I came here thinking you just wanted company, and you gave us company, Elar said, rising too. But Leo, look at me. Does this feel like family to you? The way we talk, the way we look at each other, it's more than that. You know it is. Her nearness was unbearable, her honesty a blade. Genevieve stood last, her voice almost tender. We are not asking you to replace anything. We are asking you to allow yourself to step into something. Forbidden, perhaps, but true. My hands were shaking. I wanted to run, but I couldn't move. Don't walk away, Alara pleaded softly. Don't leave us in this silence again. Just be here with us. I lowered my hands. They were both watching me. Alara with tears in her eyes. Genevieve, steady, but softer than I'd ever seen her. Slowly, I sat back down. My body was trembling. Whatever happens after tonight, Genevieve said, her voice hushed. Our lives will not be the same, but maybe that's what we've needed all along. Claire rested her hand lightly on my arm. This is your choice, Leo. But if you stay with your heart open, not as our nephew, as someone we've chosen and who chooses us. The fire burned low. I sat between them, trapped not by obligation, but by desire, by the sudden, shocking realization that they had given me what I'd been searching for, a connection that was raw and messy, but real. I closed my eyes, and the world seemed to hold its breath. Music begins, soft, resolving, hopeful narrator. Leo, I closed my eyes, and in the darkness, I saw my apartment in Austin, the gray light, the silence of the dust motes dancing over old, forgotten maps, a life spent tracing other people's journeys. When I opened them, they were both watching me. Alara with her heart wide open, terrified of being hurt again. Genevieve, steady and strong, offering a foundation I'd never had. I was supposed to leave the next day. My car was pointed west, back to the life I was supposed to live. Sound of a fire crackling, fade slightly that was 6 months ago. Sound of distant waves, seagulls. I never went back to Austin. I sold the apartment online, had my gear shipped east. My mother doesn't understand. She calls me lost. But the truth is, for the first time in my life, I'm not a nephew here. I'm not an archivist. I don't know what this is. We don't have a name for it. It's not normal. It's just real. I've started helping Genevieve repair the stonework on the terrace. Alara and I walk the cliff path every morning. We talk, we listen. We are 3 people who were drowning, who found a lifeboat. The world outside can call it whatever it wants. Forbidden, wrong. All I know is that the fire is warm. The house is no longer silent. And for the first time in my entire life, I am not alone. Music swells, then concludes.